I want to introduce you to Kite and sustainability at Kite. Before I get started, I just want to go through a little bit of my background and also some of the events in my life that were influential in making my strategy. So I was born in Sweden, and in Sweden, the Swedes have a pretty strong mindset with sustainability. And we have a right called allemansrätten, and that is a right to enjoy nature. Even if it's on private property. So when I was young, I remember getting scolded by my mom for picking flowers out in this meadow, and she asked me, now, if anyone comes back here, who's going to enjoy these flowers? And I felt so bad, so I was devastated. My mom later on went to work for an organization called Svea, which is a Swedish Women's Educational Association. And what's neat about this group is every year they provide these Swedish Women of the Year award. And in 2019, my mom endorsed and actually presented the award to Greta Thunberg. So whenever any kind of sustainability issue occurs, we always say, well, what would Greta do? And that has really answered about 50% of all my environmental questions that come at me. So moving from Sweden, we moved to Chicago. And in Chicago, I was working for an environmental service management company, and that's where I really got to see how important and also impactful the environment can be with business operations. So I went to school, I came back to Oregon, went to school and studied environmental business, or environmental science and business. And there I started at well, it was a small company starting off and then became one of the world's largest door and window manufacturers, and this was in Central Oregon. And there I was managing a regional environmental consulting within internal department. And what I learned there was growth. So that company grew to be one of the world's largest. My role grew from being in Central Oregon to being the lead for international loss control. So it went from like environment to environmental liability and then to risk management. So I was now in charge of loss control for facilities in over 30 countries. So really quick, I understood that I needed to organize and also drive progress. So learning about scorecards, getting responsibility charts for everyone that was reporting to me was key. And it helped to drive success. And then I transferred jobs and moved up here to Portland, started working at one of the largest snack and food companies. And what was important about this company is they're very focused on integrated Lean Six Sigma. So I have received my certification in Six Sigma Black Belt, and I have also learned the importance of data. So data drives all the change, it also drives the reports, and it shows significant improvements, which helps with senior leaders to kind of understand what the opportunities are and what they need to as well focus on. Another event that happened in that company was I was able to lead a virtual power purchasing agreement, which was a huge project, and from that I learned how we could use different funding to help with some of the environmental projects we were working on, because usually the ROI is horrible with environmental projects. But if you can get green funding, or you can use some of the funds from your VPPA projects, you can make that look a lot more attractive for senior leaders, and then you can start to really make some things happen. So with that, I'm going to try to get this clicker in my hand. This is what I want to go through is the introduction to Kite, and then go through our environmental strategy, looking at our goals, our steering leadership, operational teams, and then our support structure. So Kite's mission is singularly about cell therapy to treat and potentially cure cancer, which is a very powerful mission statement, especially from where I've been. So I always feel pretty proud to be part of this mission statement. I will share that my kids aren't that happy about it. From the food industry, I would come home with a whole bunch of chocolates and candies, and they'd be lining up the door when I come home from a travel trip. Now, yeah, I don't even see them. So, but I feel much better. So here is a journey for Kite. So Kite was at the forefront of cell therapy in 2009, and then it grew. And then importantly, in 2017, Gilead acquired Kite. So Gilead is known for being a very sustainable company that's been named one of the top 100 companies with sustainability. And it was a great kind of marriage because we had all the strategy with our teams and our networking. And so now, we've joined forces and doing even more powerful stuff. And today, Kite is the global leader in cell therapy. And Gilead allowed Kite to commercialize globally. So it's been a great partnership, and it's really improved what we're doing today. So we are committed to sustainability. We have targets that are global, and they're shared through Gilead. Gilead is our public-facing entity when it comes to sustainability. We have facilities around the world that have been recognized for their efforts with sustainability, and especially with certifications. And we also have energy teams and kind of sustainable green teams that are focused on all different sorts of programs that are really helping to make a difference. What you see there is a picture of our partnership with Surfrider, and we have hundreds of employees every year that go and partner with Surfrider to clean beaches, especially through the LA area. And it's been a huge success to kind of drive involvement and engagement for our company. And it's really helped to integrate what we do. So here is our kind of strategy. All right, so here is an overview of our strategy. It's continuous improvement, where we look at our company goals to start with. These goals are in alignment with our steering team that I'll get to, and also our operational teams that actually do most of the work. And we look at our main key KPIs, which are the key performance indicators. We look at water, waste, and energy, and also materials. We have long and short-term goals. Then we have our operational teams that then they really do the work. They make sure everything gets implemented to get to our company goals. Support members are accountable for helping our operational teams. So that would be the teams that are helping out with the training, communication, financing our budgets, or any type of legal contracts that we need to do. So they're there to support fully. And the team that makes sure they're supporting fully is our steering team, which is our senior leadership. And let me dive into more of our senior leadership or company goals, and then I'll dive into that. So our company goals have two tiers. We have our key performance indicators, and we look at this in two ways. We look at it as performance with rates. So how are we doing with our air, our water, and our waste as far as consumption or generation? Then we also look at our targets, or in our project targets. So our project targets are key for improvement. So if we say we want to be, let's say, RE100, we will also say we want to reduce by 2025 or 2030 X amount of kilowatt hours. And then we get into our key action indicators that then support those metrics. So saying that we're going to specifically target HVAC improvements at all the sites, and that's going to generate X amount of kilowatt hour improvements to help us get to those targets. And these key action indicators are our scorecard that we're using, but they could be anything from stewardship to training, and also compliance, everything to kind of work to make sure we get to our key performance indicators and attain that and have successes. So let's get into that steering committee. So this is a key part. So if you don't have a steering committee or sustainability council, I urge you to get involved, because usually the senior leaders love this. Find an executive sponsor and then start to fill your role with that team. Your team should be people that are representative of every business unit that you have that affect your targets. For Kite, we have finance, legal, operations, human resources. You see the list, but every one of those are involved in our sustainability council or our steering team. And the executive sponsor is also key for just finding people that maybe leave and then replacing. So they are definitely held accountable for that. Value-added decisions and involvement. So when this team meets, I've found that there's three key things to do. One is make sure they learn something. So before they get together, I have some kind of a learning or a training that I know they have no clue about. So then I can teach them on that. Maybe it's about, My Green Lab certification, or it's about, health building certifications, something new that gets their interest so they can go back to their team and say, I learned something. Then we look at ensuring that we have results. And so you'll see the scorecard, I'll go through it. But we showcase where are we, where do we need to get to, and where can you help us out with. And lastly, they have to make decisions. This would be making sure that, anything. We need X amount of money for our projects this year. Do we have your commitment to do that? And do we have your commitment to, let's say, roll out a building certification at all of our sites? So having a decision-making power gives them ownership, and those three things I found have been very successful with our senior leadership team. And then let me go through these scorecards, because I love the scorecards, especially from my data-driven time at the food industry. So I have 4 tiers that I work with. This is an example. Our public affairs shrunk it down for me, but hopefully you'll at least kind of get the gist of it. But we have 4 different categories. The first one is stewardship. So in stewardship, what I look at is compliance. And for compliance, I look at, has anyone had any notices of violation? We have third parties that look at actions to improve upon. Usually they're compliance driven, and if they're overdue, that's something that we do count. And then we also have our must implement list, which is our cardinal rules for sustainability. That has to do with easy things like making sure you have 0 waste events, or you have recycling for your cartridge toners, or you have HVAC setbacks. So we make sure everyone has some kind of must implement items. That's compliance. And next we look at our sustainability green teams, also that I refer to as our operational teams, making sure they meet, making sure that they're also progressing. We then also look at events. So every site has to do at least 2 events, which is community-driven events where they have to do some community stewardship. We also look at different types of initiatives when it comes to waste recycling or energy, where it could, anything with our HVAC setups or cooling towers, metering. And then lastly, we look at certification, so becoming LEED certified, and then we measure those items. So that's the stewardship piece. We change this every year. Once we complete something, we add something new. And then we look at our energy and air. So here we look at where are we with our projects that we committed to, that our steering committee has agreed to, and then how are we doing on that? Once we've attained that kind of project target, then it turns green. And then we also look at how are we doing this year versus last year, and are we meeting, let's say, our 5% improvement, which is aligned to our roadmap to get to our higher KPIs. We also look at RE100 and net zero, and that concludes kind of that energy side. And then with water, we just look at our projects, and then how are we doing compared to last year with an additional 5%, which puts us on a roadmap. And we look at waste. So waste is all about 0 waste to landfill. So we want to have a set improvement every year, but also give credit for how are you doing with getting there. So all this stuff equals 100 points. So they then strive to complete everything, get everything green. And we have what you see there on the right is we have graphs to show the progress of every site and in total, and then where the categories are and how you're scoring. And then we have some awards that includes different prizes that they can attain, and it spurs competition. This is also what senior leaders take, and they take it back to their teams and say, why are we on the bottom here? What can we do to improve? And it's been very successful. We try to get 20% improvement every year. This year alone, we've increased over 60%. It's just become kind of an integrated focus for our operational teams. So definitely encourage you to set up a scorecard, track it, and and then see what happens. This is a lot easier to do this than to say you have to do it because I said so. So our operational teams, this is the teams that do the work. Usually they always say, hey, we can do anything just as long as we get the resources and the money. So that's where the steering committee comes into play. So the operational teams are teams throughout our business. Myself, I only have one person that works for me, but I have maybe about 30 people in these operational teams in total that are dotted lines, so to say. But they are included in every one of our business units, including manufacturing, warehouse, engineering, procurement, transportation, and also our sales department. So they all get together. This is kind of our sustainable green team, and they're then aligned with our scorecard and our results. And they go through a plan, do, check, act. I'll show you the tools that we use. And then all the progress is communicated and support is given if needed. So the operational teams, like I mentioned before, I have a responsibility chart. I found that has been key. So I list all the names, or the sites will list their names on operational teams. And then we list the key functions and activities, and who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, who's informed, making sure everyone knows who does what, so nobody's in a meeting and not really knowing how they're supposed to be contributing. And then the scorecard below, as I showed before, this is now where they focus on the reds or the greens. So any new greens, they're expected to celebrate. So to communicate that with their own sites and say, hey, look what we've done, and they get recognition. And then if there's reds, another time to celebrate the reds with a new opportunity for improvement in actions. And then this is something that then gets put, kind of like some of you may have like safety committee minutes. This would be what they are going to now distribute and communicate to their work teams of what they're doing and working on. And this has been very successful. Now, sometimes they get into some red situations that they just can't improve. And so it needs to be escalated. And this is really where our support members come into play. So these support members, they involve finance, legal, human resources, engineering, event planners, public affairs. Some people may have government affairs, green teams, and other subject matter experts. And they are the ones that really help to ensure budgets can be created. Because if senior leadership says, yes, you can have a budget of X amount, now you actually have to have one that you can then put your CapEx or OpEx projects against. So having people dedicated and knowing that they're accountable to do that is key. Also, we use them for renewable energy contracts for our finance teams, making sure that they can set that up for us because it's sometimes above our expertise. And then looking at community partnerships, you're going to need contracts for that, helping out to set that up. And then having human resources to help out with training and public affairs with communication. And then recognitions is something that really we kind of look at as our success and achievements. So what you see here on the right is everything we have either partnered with or been rewarded for in the last 2 years. So you have LEAD and My Green Lab. That last one, Sama med Stadsbootshaven, that's from our Amsterdam site, but it's a partnership with their their forest parks. Then the SQA award from Santa Monica, we received the grand prize from that. An easy one is like Adopt the Road, just to get people out to do some community service, and then you can have your sign and some branding there that people recognize. Go San Mo is our commuting efforts. So we have regulated commuting surveys that must be done in the LA area, also in Amsterdam. And so we've attained tons of awards for this. We have van pools, car pools. We give incentives for getting bikes and all sorts of different ways to green commute. And then our Surfrider Foundation, I mentioned that before, but they've just been fantastic. We are the only coastal defender in the Los Angeles area, so we're on their website, which is a great partnership. And lastly, just last month, we attained the Frederick County Sustainability Award, which is in Maryland. So these are some of the partnerships that we have that really help to drive our success and our journey for sustainability excellence. And this is short and sweet, but thank you.
Questions?
Oh, any questions? All right, if not, I have one of my old colleagues here who loves ergonomics, who just wants to get us all a little loose and stretched out. Joe Henry.